again, Aran Sweater Knitting Masterclass. More books to look at. Today I'm going to show you two books by Elspeth Lavold that are about Viking knits. This is our first book that I got when it was brand new. And she uses what Alice Starmer calls the Celtic cables in her designs, which are those never-ending ones that twist in weird ways. Here's where she shows you kind of how it works. And she starts with increases and decreases. And see, there's just plain reverse stockinette between them. So they're those unusual kind of cables. Here you can see this ring on the bottom of it. There's no stitches, same thing here and here. It disappears at the top and bottom, so it's just an interesting deal. And she used this to make all kind of designs. And it's like Celtic knotwork, if you look at the pictures and the diagrams, which is why Alice Starmer designed a similar thing based on Celtic knitting. And Elspeth Lavold came up with the similar design based on Viking. And I said knitting, but really Viking designs that were not done in knitting. And the Celtic designs were not done in knitting either, but they can be adapted to knitting with some of these techniques. And this technique that she uses here is easier than Alice Starmer's, but I kind of go back and forth if I do this, which one I use, depending if I want easiness, or Alice Starmer's technique curves a little more, a little bit blends in smoother to me. So depending what yarn and colors and what pattern, and whether I want it pointed like this, looks really cool pointed. If I want it more rounded, I might try Alice Starmer's. But this is kind of cool because you can make a horizontal cable with this technique, which there's no other way you can, because you're knitting, this would be your cast on and you're knitting that way. And with this technique, you can make a cable that makes a horizontal band without knitting in separate pieces. So she's got all those techniques in a stitch library in there, and then she has her patterns, which I think are quite lovely. She's also an artist in her work. I love that hat too. I never made anything from this book, but I really want to. One of my goals in life is to modify my business to where I'm doing less design work and more knitting for fun, and more teaching and workshops here in Vermont, and getting yarn spun for shops. Just everything in this book I like, though. So one day maybe I'll get to knit all these things I've been looking at, especially this one. I really want to knit this one. It might be hard to see in the colors, but I've wanted to make this sweater like forever. And it has such a cute hat. And here's the cable that's in it. So pretty, I think. Don't you think? That's really unusual, kind of asymmetric in a way. So it's has a more fun look to me. This one's really fun because it has just motifs, and so instead of having all cables that go up and down, she really takes advantage of the fact that these cables can just end and stand alone as motifs. So more stitch library, and then she'll have more designs that go with these kind of stitches. Aren't these little knots just like so pretty? I think they're adorable. And then here it is in this beautiful sweater. This one I really love. It's just so simple and classic. And what's really cool, if you can see it here, is that the yoke goes across together and joins in the middle. So that pattern from the front bands goes up and across the back of the neck like a yoke. This is so sweet. Okay, so I'll flip through a little more. Little guy's sweater with matching socks and mittens. So she's got small patterns in here too if you're not a sweater knitter. A lovely coat with a backpack. So this book is really nice if you want patterns. And then she's got runes, which is fun. So you can write whatever you want with the runes. And she's got a couple designs. And then I love this. This is a snake, a rune snake. And the grass snake in Lithuania is a very good creature. So I would knit that thinking of Lithuania. And then she's got all the, glossary in the back and stuff, and how to do things. So, lovely, lovely book. Came out quite a while ago. This is her newer book, which still came out a few years ago. The older you get, can't tell when things came out. This is really fun. It's got patterns and everything in it again, but she's got a whole, my part that I love, this history thing, and where do all these where do all these patterns come from? Because she's focusing on the Vikings, because that's where she lives, where her background is. But she's also showing you, this is from Suriname, South America. This is from Denmark. This is from South America again. This is from Congo and Africa and Ethiopia. And she's showing you these things from all over the world that use similar motifs. And this is something I'm working on for a new lace book I have that I hope will come out next year in 2021. But I totally love how she did that. And she went through and she shows you the motifs and how she adapts them to knitting. And her charts are a little different than some of the other charts. You see, she sticks to almost all simple cables, like 2 crossing over 2. So there's no 5 over 8 or 3 over 2 or 1 over 1. So it makes these cables easier to handle, even though they have these weird things where they appear and disappear. There's not as many different kinds of cable crossings. But I mean, I just think this is from Croatia, Sweden, Egyptian, and you see the same motifs repeating over and over again. So it's fascinating to read and look at all of that. And then, of course, we come to sweaters that use the patterns that she's shown. And she's got the charts right there with the sweater. And she does a really nice combination sometimes where there's just a portion with the cable and then something simpler on the rest of the body. So it's not as overwhelming as an Aran sweater. But this whole book is like that. Sweaters, patterns, isn't that cool? So it's amazingly simple, but using one as a motif. And then showing, this is from Italy, where this motif was found, and also Croatia, England, and Sweden. So she's got that all throughout. Oh, look at the back of the neck and how the little motif is on the back. Just the detail I love in her work, and then also the background, of course, is all through the book. So this is a really fun book to just sit down with, keep it on your coffee table or where you knit, and look at, a chapter every now and then for inspiration and for reading the story and so forth. So I think you'll love these if you have the time. Like I said, they're a little different than real, traditional Aran knitting, but totally related.